Andy, you don't know what you started, bud. Oh, I'm so grateful for this question because you've had me in deep contemplation for the last 15 minutes, trying to figure out what I even think a game is, what is a gift, how does it relate back to God. I've been just on a sweet journey of mental exploration and spiritual exploration because of this question, and I want to share what has been going through my brain and see what you have to say about it because it's such a great question. So, when I think of a game, like how do you really define what a game is? Like if I was to define a game, it would be an experience that is guided by a certain set of rules, basically. Because if you think about like the game of basketball, for example, it's it's created to have a specific sort of interaction of life, and you have a certain set of rules for which there are consequences, which don't apply to other games. So, I guess to me, a game, if I was to define that, is an experience guided by a set of rules. But, a game doesn't necessarily have to have a definitive winner and a loser like there is in basketball. A game doesn't necessarily have to have a particular objective. Like Grand Theft Auto, for example, I know it's kind of like a grotesque comparison because it's Grand Theft Auto. But, really, that game doesn't necessarily have to have an objective. You can just roam around a virtual city and just go do whatever. So, that's what I would consider to be a game. And then, I look at the word gift. Well, what does gift mean? And, when I think of a gift, I think that a gift is something which is given to you. And then I think, well, why can't a game be given as a gift? Why can't an experience be given as a gift, which is also a game, which is something that you can play? Like, have you ever gotten a game as a gift? But then I got to thinking a little more, like, but to say that I have been given this gift, which you're referring to as life, like, is life a gift, or is it a gift, is to say that I have been given life. Now, what does it mean to say that I have been given life? Well, does that mean that because my parents have mated, combining their DNA to create my physical form, is that what has given me life? Or is it that my soul, which resides inside of this body, that's what gives me life? Well, then you gotta ask, okay, well, if the body came from my earthly parents, the soul comes from where? Because without the soul, you're not alive, right? So I guess then it comes back to, okay, well, then where does the soul come from? And then you might say, well, God, depending on what you believe, or depending on what you know. God is different for people, right? And I do not perceive God to be an entity of omniscient power that decides the fate of the universe. That is not what I perceive God to be. And so in that regard, I know that I wasn't given life by some sort of celestial entity, because really all of reality is just a reflection of ourselves. Like God, like we are God. God is literally everything in existence. If you want to define, well, what is God? God gives life to everything, I guess. If you want to say in that sense, well, how is it giving life to everything? Is it consciously, is it actively willing life into everything, or is this just the natural consequence of existence, that this is an experience which can be had? Because if you really break down what God is and like what our souls are, well, if our souls are that pure essence of ourselves, if our souls are that piece of God which is given to us to have this experience, this earthly experience, and that soul is the divine part of us, but this is truly all divine, and the soul is just another aspect of the manifestation of God, which is everything anyways. Like, there's no difference between my soul and that tree over there, for instance. Well, my soul is really just another piece of God. It's just another piece of creation itself, which is to say that, have I really been given life? Or am I life itself? In which case, it's not that I have been given life, but it's that life is something that I am experiencing because of the natural consequence of the universe's evolution. Andy, you got me going, bud. I'm curious to hear what you think about all this. So I'm still trying to, because I guess ultimately my conclusion is that, like, yeah, you could see it as a gift, but why can't you see it as a game at the same time? Because originally, the reason I used the metaphor in the video is because you can't say certain words on social media platforms without getting without violating certain guidelines, and then they'll take your video down, or they'll suppress your video so that people can't see it. So it was a replacement for a metaphor of that word which I can't say without getting scrubbed. But then at the same time, I'm fully aware that the language I use to express myself comes from my perspective of reality. So then, because that's what naturally came out, then I must perceive life as a game. And I guess game and life are just synonymous to me at this point, because ultimately, even a gift that is given can be seen. There's a Cybertruck. I see these things every time that I drive to Toronto now. They're so weird looking, but cool looking too. Like a gift given, the receiver doesn't necessarily have to love the gift. The receiver might hate the gift. The receiver might hate the game. The receiver might love the game. You know, I guess it's not really so much a matter of, well, what words are you using to define life in this instance of, well, is it a gift, is it a game, or is it like, when you say a gift, do you mean that it's something beautiful, that it's something, what do you mean by that? I'm curious to know what you mean by gift and what you mean by game, because perhaps your perspective will help me to go even deeper into this. It's exciting to me. Yeah, I think that's where I'll leave it now, though. I'm curious to hear back from you, bud. And if I don't before the weekend, I hope you have yourself a great Easter, if that's something that you do. And yeah, I hope you have the best night of your life tonight, bud, and catch you next time.